And this is certainly not the news we want. As of 2 a.m., we're now getting our hourly updates. It has strengthened to a Cat 4 in the matter of an hour. I mean, this thing is deepening, and it's deepening fast. 130 mile per hour sustained winds. We're probably seeing gusts closer to 140, 150, and that's going to continue to encroach on the coast as we go through later today. Pressure has dropped to 949. This is not good news, but this is what we expected. It is rapidly intensifying as we now have a Category 4, and this is within 1 hour. I woke up at midnight. It was a Cat 2. 2 hours later, not even 2 hours later, it's a Category 4. It has increased that much as it makes its way towards the Louisiana coast. So if you're just joining us here, it is just before 2 a.m. We've got an advisory in from the National Hurricane Center because the hurricane hunters are in there, and we're actually getting this data. This is true data we're getting, and they have clocked at 130 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane. Pressure at 949. It's sitting 100 miles south of the mouth of the river, and it's moving at 15 miles per hour. It's probably going to slow down a few more miles per hour, but it is going to be moving at a rate that keeps it at a kind of a steady rate as we go into later today. So here's what we got to do. Let's go, and I want to look at, and I want to give you a breakdown on when these the worst winds could move into your area. Now, we've bumped up the timing of this just a hair, or by quite a bit. We have it moving in now more of this late morning and through the afternoon rather than this evening into tonight. So we've already got tropical storm force winds moving towards the coast here. The more damaging winds of 59 to 70 miles per hour will start to move towards the coast by closer to sunrise. The core of the hurricane force winds, now they're going to be near the center. Not everyone's going to experience that 130, but with this center tracking through the heart of southeast Louisiana, quite a few of you could experience 110, 100 plus mile per hour winds as this moves on through. So this is at 7 a.m. We've got the worst of the winds still down here in the Gulf, but encroaching on our coastal areas. Let's take it up in time here. This is going to be the hurricane force winds approaching, let's say, Grand Isle, let's say down towards Port Fourchon as we go into 10, 11 o'clock. That's when you will be at your worst. That's not when you should be hunkering down. You should be hunkering down about now on the coast. That's when the hurricane force winds start. They will continue to move up across the area here. And with this latest track, we do have the worst of the winds moving through parts of the New Orleans metro, and this will be during the afternoon. So if you are not where you need to be in New Orleans by this morning, you got to get there, because by this afternoon, we will likely have, and usually we're saying possibly, it might happen. No, we're going to start using the word likely because this thing is already a Category 4, and we do have that center going right through parts of Lafourche. But remember, if this thing jogs just 10 miles to the east, you got nearly the heart of the storm coming into the New Orleans metro as a significant major hurricane where winds will be over 100 miles per hour. So if you lost power in Zeta, there's no doubt about it. You're going to lose power in this storm, and probably a lot more people are going to lose power in this storm as it's going to be affecting a bigger area of those more intense winds. Now, in the yellow here, you see our tropical storm force winds. That'll be on the Mississippi coast as we go throughout the afternoon. Still think you missed out on the worst winds on the coast, but then we got to turn our attention to the North Shore and the river parishes. So if you're in the river parishes, the worst part of it is also this afternoon going into this evening. We'll also be looking at excuse me, the worst of it getting close to parts of the North Shore as we go into this afternoon and into this evening, and then up towards Baton Rouge, closer to sunset. So if I know people up in Baton Rouge are even watching us right now. We've got people evacuated all over the place, but the worst of the hurricane winds will move in towards Baton Rouge closer to 7, 8, 9 o'clock. That will continue into this evening, into tonight. And then look at this, with the sped up timeline, things will start to wind down after midnight tonight. So I think tonight we'll start to see some improvements with the wind, but then our attention's really got to turn to the rainfall threat. This thing's only moving at 15 miles an hour right now. It's probably going to slow down a little bit more, anywhere between 10 to 15 miles per hour as it moves through. That's not terribly fast. It's not stalling out, but this means we will see most of today with heavy rainfall across our area, and we will be watching for some flooding where we could see on average of 6 to 10 inches with isolated 15 inches. So overall, that is the latest. If you're just joining us, I know a lot of people are maybe waking up, checking in here. I want to go back over this really quick. We've got a Category 4 now. It strengthened to a Category 4 from a 3 to a 4 in about 30 minutes. It's rapidly deepening, which means the pressure is dropping very quickly. And as the pressure drops, those winds will respond and they will speed up. So we've got a 949 millibar hurricane here. That's pretty significant, and that will continue to drop, it looks like, with 130 mile per hour sustained winds. We don't have gusts yet from the National Hurricane Center, but those are usually on the order of probably 10 miles per hour greater. They could be gusting to 140, and those could continue to go up well. That's the track we currently have. In the center of that hurricane, our radars are picking up on the eye, is tracking right along that red line. So if that continues, this moves into parts. Port Fourchon is right in the middle of that line. But remember, the right side of the storm and really all sides near the eye of a Category 4 hurricane are going to be awful. So this includes Terrebonne, Lafourche. It includes all southeast Louisiana, especially south of the lake. So we'll just give you that kind of broad scope of everyone is going to feel potentially significantly impacts from this Category 4 storm. Before I leave you, let me go over the track, because I know we got a lot of people now tuning in. The track of this thing really has not changed. We still have it. They have it as 130 mile per hour by this morning. It's already 130 mile per hour. So with the 4 a.m. update, which doesn't happen for another 3 hours, it'll be interesting to see, do they bump that up to maybe 140? It would still be a Category 4. You have to have, for it to be a Cat 5, it has to have winds of about 157 miles per hour. And at this point, you know, splitting hairs, there's not a huge difference when you start talking about 140 plus mile per hour winds. So either way you look at this is not a good thing for our coastal areas, which could see winds well over 130, 140 miles per hour. The hurricane hunters are still in there as we continue to track this. The 130 mile per hour winds are what the hurricane hunters were detecting. They're still in there, and we'll be watching to see if they detect any stronger winds. And it does look like it is still strengthening at this point. So that is the latest as of 2 a.m. We're now probably going to start to get these hourly updates as it gets closer and closer to making landfall, which will be later this morning and afternoon. The worst of it's going to be moving in through the afternoon hours now, not this evening and tonight, this afternoon. So you've got to get to where you need to be. Don't be on the roads. If you're stuck in traffic right now, hopefully we don't have any traffic around here, but if you are past Lafayette, you're going to be okay here at this point. And if you're past Mobile, I think you're going to be okay as well.
Peyton, these hourly updates, what will we learn there? Because we only hear the track every couple hours? Yeah,
so my rule of thumb is at this point, the track almost becomes, we know what the track is going to be just by looking at radar and watching the trend. So you essentially babysit the storm into the area. We did this with Zeta last year, and fortunately we have our radars which can extend hundreds of miles out into the Gulf of Mexico, so we can see the eye of the storm. It's there. So, and we can see there's the center line of the forecast track, and as long as it follows near that, you know, we know when it's going to be making landfall. We can also see how fast it's moving and how far it is. And so the forecast track will come in, but really, once it gets to the radar and we have the path it's moving and we can watch it, we can see it visually with the radar, then we can walk it in, and we kind of know that that track is set in stone right now.
So what do you learn with these hourly updates? And it jumped to a 4 so quickly. Is there any way it's going to jump to a 5?
You know, we talked about this a couple days ago. I mean, Chris, nothing's out of the, you know, everything's possible right now. Now, it would be quite dramatic for this thing to jump up to 157 miles per hour hurricane. It's happened. It can happen.
Okay.
They can rapidly strengthen that quickly. I don't want people to focus so much on, you know, that splitting that difference. There is, you know, a Cat 5 is just absolutely catastrophic,
right,
but so is a Category 4. And with these hourly updates, we'll just know exactly what it's doing with its winds. So the hurricane hunters, they will continue to fly this until it gets over land. Once it gets over land, the hurricane hunters will not go into it. It's not safe for them to fly through a hurricane over land. There's too many risks with that. So they will continue to fly this up until landfall, so we will continue to get continuous data. They are sending in multiple planes right now. Now keep in mind, Keesler is in Biloxi, right? So they've evacuated all their planes. So they're having to fly in from San Antonio.
Wow.
And we've got planes flying in. They've evacuated towards Florida and things like that. So they'll have multiple planes flying in this throughout the rest of the morning.
And you even seem shocked. And we knew that it would get to a Category 4, but this quickly. Did this happen sooner than you guys thought?
You know, just from like a meteorological perspective, it's just insane to see a storm strengthen this fastly. Can it happen? Yes. We always talk about it happening. It usually doesn't happen, but when you see it happening, and also when you have a Category 4 storm sitting on your doorstep, I mean, it hits you that, oh my gosh, this is reality. So
Yeah.
that's what's, I think it's so shocking that yes, this is actually
Hopefully
happening.
people aren't sitting at home like, oh my gosh, I should have left. Hopefully everybody that needed to leave has left.
I thought about that last night. I said, there's going to be people who are sitting at home. I know it's going to happen, and you pray they're okay, you hope they're okay, but they're going to be sitting at home in these winds later today, and they're going to think, oh my gosh, I wish I would have left.
Yeah.
And
Peyton, they talk about like a tornado, it sounds like a train. Is that what it sounds like for a hurricane too?
yeah, I mean, I don't remember if y'all remember Zeta last year.
I do. That was
It
horrible.
scary.
And you were saying that this is going to be even worse.
Oh, this will be magnitudes worse, especially for our coastal areas. I mean, yes, we did see a Category 3 storm, but that was very confined to around Cocodrie and kind of the Port Fourchon, Terrebonne Bay area. This could be a little bit more widespread, and we could see those more intense winds move up into the metro. So, that was certainly scary. Think of all the people that lost power in Zeta.
Right.
Think of all the people that are likely going to lose power in this. It'll probably be more expansive, we imagine.
You also mentioned that Zeta was a 3, but felt more like a 1 when it got to the metro area. So if this
Yeah.
is a 4, what is it going to feel like when it's closer to the metro area?
Oh, it'll probably be weakening to a 3 or a 2.
But still very strong.
Excuse me, extremely strong. It will rapidly weaken once it gets inland here, and it'll probably still be up to around a 2 or a 1 to Baton Rouge. So that's winds of about 100 miles per hour, maybe 95 to 100 miles per hour, with some higher gusts possible. So this could be the strongest hurricane that has impacted some of our areas directly in many decades.
And you keep talking about the pressure dropping as a factor and it getting stronger. What factors is making it strengthen so quickly? What other factors?
It just has to do with the environment. So the pressure dropping is a reflection of it strengthening.
Okay.
The pressure is not
Causing
what's
it to be
strengthening it.
strengthened.
Exactly.
Okay.
The pressure is dropping is telling us that it is strengthening. So as the pressure drops, all that means is that it's breathing. That means it's not experiencing really significant wind shear. We also know the Gulf of Mexico is boiling hot. That's a given. So the environment this is in right now is just that conducive for it to strengthen, and that's what the pressure is telling us. So as the pressure drops, the winds will rise. That's how it works.